What is going on today, everyone? So yesterday was World Quantum Day, and today we're going to look at the stock market and tech in general and take a look at how tech is doing. We're going to look at the QQQ. We're going to look at price action on Rigetti, QBTS, D-Wave, and IonQ. So we're just going to take a look at the current state of tech in the market in general. We're going to look at a little bit of tariff news. All right, so we got a lot planned. Let's jump right in. All right, guys, so yesterday was World Quantum Day. I have that pulled up here. World Quantum Day is celebrated annually on April 14th to promote public awareness of quantum science and technology. So happy birthday, quantum. Let's look at the heat map. So I'm gonna move me over here. So today, Microsoft was down 0.5%, Google down 1.7%, Meta down 1.8%, Nvidia was up 1.3%, Amazon down 1.39. So I want to talk a little bit about the tariffs and how they're weighing on the Qs. The QQQ, which is the tech index, which has seen a pretty sharp sell-off in 2025. So Trump has promised an expedited process for Nvidia's US supercomputer plan as big tech pledges $1.6 trillion. So they have Yahoo Finance has a nice timeline. So when Trump was elected, Microsoft pledging their $80 billion. Then we have OpenAI, Oracle, and SoftBank. Then Meta, TSMC, 100 billion, Apple, 500 billion, Nvidia now saying they want to put 500 billion into onshore manufacturing. So good sign from all of these big American companies. But the thing is, with all of this, it's just going to take time. Like, these aren't going to be built overnight. And what's going to happen with the economy and the markets for the next couple of years, who knows? One of the other comments I saw when I was looking at the boards on this specific issue is, oh yeah, all these companies are going to kiss the ring in a sense. They're going to do what Trump wants, but as soon as he's out of office, then they're going to reverse course and keep manufacturing outside of the US. So there's a political piece of all of this, but I tend to be on the side of this, that these companies could benefit from bringing a lot of this manufacturing onshore. It will give them more control and more direct access. So it could be overall a good thing. Let's take a look at our quantum watch list. So we see that for the most part, nothing was up over 1% and nothing was down under 3%. So I would say that's a pretty flat day overall in the market for quantum. Rigetti sold off 2.7%, QBTS 1.4%. We're going to talk about ARQQ, which I've covered recently on the channel, sold off just a hair. And then the winner of the day on this list is Coherent and IBM. So let's take a look at the Qs. So we have, all right, so let's take a look at the QQQ. We have pulled up here 1 month of price action. And I actually want to go back 3 months to the last time. I was looking at this today and I thought this is interesting because we actually double topped. So we top here and in December, and then we top again in February. And I want to just kind of show that top there. Move this out of the way. So this 540 level for the QQQ has been a spot where the index has rejected a few times. And then with recent tariff news, we've seen a lot of sell-off. And then if we zoom in a little bit, we're seeing what looks like the start of potentially a recovery. So we're starting to create a trend of higher lows. Let's see if we can get the simple moving average. 100 and 200 day moving average for the QQQ here represented by these green lines. I also have our RSI, which is our relative strength index. And we see that we bounced off of what looks like a 412 support a couple times. And we had that big run last week on Wednesday, that historic run. And what I'm looking at is that since that run, in about a week of trading, we haven't really got above this high yet. So this 467. So it does seem, it's not exactly rejecting off of the 467, but it is interesting that there was this big run up and then the sell off the following day. And then we've kind of just traded flat for the last few trading days. So now taking that context into our quantum stocks, knowing that the entire index has taken a pretty massive beating. In fact, if we measure the beating that tech has taken in 2024, if we just go from the top all the way to the bottom, we see almost a 25% move from the top of the top to the bottom of the bottom in this market. So just fully having that context, let's take a look at Rigetti and kind of see what's been going on for the last 3 months. So we have our quantum crash levels, we have macro and market sell-off, but there seems to be a pretty solid level of consolidation and support around this $8-9 range. In fact, if we go back to February, so we're almost holding this $9 range for 2 months despite the macroeconomic conditions. Now let's zoom in a little bit closer here to the last week. So of course, on the trading day where every stock in the market moved up, Rigetti also followed suit and exploded up. There was a little bit of sell-off the next day. And overall, if we had to look at the peak here of this move from the Wednesday that everything went crazy, we're looking at potentially a little bit more sell-off than the whole index, as the whole index is a little bit closer to its very top, but similar enough. I wouldn't say that quantum and the QQQ always run side by side. When the Qs were selling off, for example, if we look at the last month, let's look at 3 months again. There just has been a lot of chop. It hasn't really gone anywhere. It's been bouncing between sevens, low sevens, 10, 9, 8, 9, 10. So Rigetti is still in that range, and there's not a clear sign, in my opinion, in the technicals that would signal any sort of immediate reversal. We could look at the 50, 100, and 200 day moving average. All right, let's take a look at QBTS. And we're going to see a similar story with QBTS, except that QBTS, if we go back for 3 months, if we take a look at this last run up that QBTS had after their quantum supremacy claims, their increased forward guidance, we actually saw QBTS as the quantum stock that surpassed its pre-quantum craze highs. And currently, it looks like it's built a nice little support right around this $7 range. So what typically was resistance perhaps will become support for QBTS in the future. If we get in real close, and we look at the last month of trading, we can kind of see that it's really hung around this $7 line. So at its bottom, it was 6, and at its very peak, it was trading at almost $12 a share. There's no technical indication here in the chart that we're in reversal. We're kind of trading sideways at the moment. Let's take a look at IonQ, because there was some interesting price action for IonQ at the end of the trading day. So again, if we look back at the last 6 months, we know that IonQ has been beat up quite a bit. The quantum crash affected, but IonQ was the most resilient of all the quantum stocks. Then they've sold down quite a bit, and they've struggled to maintain. They've had this $20 support that they've bounced off of a number of times. So they're in this channel down here, and you wonder, we saw a $28 price point in the recent 5 trading days, but you wonder, does IonQ want to break this channel? And let's look at just the last little bit of trading today. So we did see a lot of volume move in towards the end of the day. I don't know exactly what was the proponent for this. We can quickly see if I can pull up something. Okay, so he was on Fox Business. So let's take a listen to this and then call it a video. It's going to be a little bit longer than this because I wasn't planning on watching this video, but let's take a listen.
Up 1,000%, one went up 600% or something like that. And then we got the skepticism, right? Jensen Huang, Nvidia, everyone kind of remembers that kind of poured some cold water on the whole big push for a moment. But the excitement over quantum computing really has only grown more intense since then. And my next guest, well, he's the CEO of IonQ, one of those 3 names that I featured last October. And since we've talked about it many times in the show, so I want to bring in now their president, CEO, Nicolo de Masi. Great to see you.
Great to be here.
First, I just want to I want to let the audience know about your meteoric rise, because it's really impressive. 25 years of academic research, 2015, put the pedal to the metal, and by 2021, you're listed on the New York Stock Exchange. This is tough. It's not easy to go from academia to a commercially viable entity. How come you've been so successful?
Honestly, it's because we've got the best path to turning Dr. Richard Feynman's postulates from the 1970s into functioning, commercializable quantum computers. There's other ways to build CPUs and GPUs, but silicon turned into the winner. For quantum computers, we're very certain that our ion trap approach is the winner.
There was a lot of skepticism. There was a McKinsey, not skepticism, but a McKinsey report, for instance, last year saying, hey, this is going to be the biggest thing in the world. Give it like 15 years. Jensen Huang, give it another 10, 15, 20 years. Why is the industry moving so much quicker than the experts thought just like a year ago?
Tech cycles keep compressing. Customers are ever bigger in the tech space. They want an early lead. They want to get an edge over their competitors, right? When I hear things like it's 10 years for quantum processing units, it honestly reminds me of what all the Intel CEOs said about GPUs 2015, right?
Right.
So yeah, and that's really interesting that he says this, because that's one thing that I've been personally confused about with Nvidia and their approach to quantum and Jensen's approach to quantum, because they at one point were the disruptor. So wouldn't they naturally be able to identify a disruptive technology, since that was part of their origin story?
It's true that it might be 10 years before GPU makers are kind of on their knees like Intel is, but that doesn't mean we're not doing relevant stuff for commercial companies today, 3-letter agencies, government research labs, you name it. The era of narrow commercial advantage is here. The era of broad quantum advantage is coming.
Yeah, and it also reminds me, for instance, the debut ChatGPT. It was sort of an innocuous announcement, and next thing you know, it turned everything around. The stock market was languishing. Everything turned around and went higher. Now the question is, because a lot of folks say, well, which quantum stock do you like best? I get asked this a lot. What's the difference between you and some of the other names that we hear out there?
We were the first public company in the space. We are the biggest. We were the biggest. We've raised the most money. We've got double the GAAP revenue in 2024 of everybody else combined, right? We've got, frankly, 3 times the market cap of the biggest player. We've got double the cash balance. So we're resourced to win, to go the distance. We're also the first to commercialize, right? So the top end of our guidance is not that shy of $100 million of GAAP revenue this year.
Right.
Most importantly, we've expanded from quantum computing into quantum networking. So we're the only public company in the world that's doing computing and networking all on the NYSE.
And there's a bold prediction out there. It was you or maybe the chairman, $1 billion real soon and profitability.
Well, I've been on the board 5 years, so it's a joint prognostication. But yes, that's very much our goal. I mean, we've doubled revenue the last 3 years in a row. It's our intention to do it again.
Wow, that's a pretty bold claim. We believe that IonQ will be profitable with sales approaching $1 billion by 2030. That's, I mean, I'm just looking at my the date on my watch here, and that's 4.5 years away.
Again, this year and continue growing at quite a clip. With the networking expansion of our TAM, you mentioned McKinsey, they think quantum networking is basically as big a business nearly as quantum computing. We've got 600 networking customers. We've sold dozens of systems, partial systems, and we have many, many dozens, if not hundreds of people accessing our machines through the Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Oak Ridge clouds, if you will. So, we were focused on commercialization at IPO 5 years ago. We're still focused on building that commercial ecosystem. Because I think if you look at the companies, they've gone from $1 billion to $100 billion to maybe $1 trillion market caps the last couple decades. It's always about the customer ecosystem, right? Who are you partnering with? Who's doing useful stuff? As Steve Jobs said, if you learn on a Mac, you stay on a Mac, right? So I want people to learn on our machines, learn on networking products, and then stay with IonQ.
I get just like 30 seconds ago, to live up to the ultimate hype, if quantum does live up to the ultimate hype, we'll probably see the same questions that face AI, AGI, ASI, sort of like it's so disruptive. Could it be dangerously disruptive? What do you tell people when they worry about that?
We're working on quantum AI techniques right now, right? So large global car manufacturer, industrial AI applications. We're helping create training data for classical, LLMs. We're helping refine classical LLM models using our quantum computers. And I think strong AI, East Coast AI models are going to work on our quantum computers, right? So I think it offers better control. Strong AI offers better control than a black box where you don't know what the machine's doing. So I think quantum computers are actually going to be really good for the AI conversation, if you will, and they're going to grow the market because we're going to address problems that classical computers will never be able to.
I got to
All right, guys. So that is everything. And I just wanted to give my final thoughts here on kind of what the IonQ CEO is saying. I don't agree that GPU makers will be kneecapped like Intel in 10 years. I think that quantum computers will be used as a complementary processing unit with GPUs and CPUs. And there'll be a harmony, a trifecta of different computing for different problems. And quantum computers will get the most difficult problems or problems that classical and supercomputers would never be able to do with all the time in the universe. A quantum computer will get those type of problems. And of course, the use cases will increase over time. And it's great. I'm going to leave you with this last thought. Anytime any of these quantum CEOs get in front of a camera and they talk directly to the investor, to the public, it is always a good thing because investors want transparency. They want certainty. They want to know what the vision of the company is and what the vision for quantum is. And if I have earned a like, and only if I've earned a like, please consider leaving one. And we'll see you in the next one.